So good morning, everybody. Here's our presentation on Google Slides. So today we are going to learn how to create a presentation, how to edit and format that presentation, including inserting and arranging text, shapes, lines, images, and videos. And then we will learn how to organize our slides and animate the slides. We will also go over how to collaborate with others on your presentation, and then how to create a presentation from either a template or build it yourself. And we'll talk about how to change the theme and the background. And lastly, we will go over how to present the slides. So for today, I thought the best way to do this is to show you a sample presentation, and then we would recreate that presentation. So I'm going to share with you a presentation that I created specifically for this session today. So we'll just walk through it. You'll see there's a bunch of text, some images, there are transitions. Here's a video. And finally, again, text and images. Presentation. We'll walk through how to create this whole piece. Notice there are only 3 slides, and all of the transitions and all the images and everything fit on those 3 slides. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a brand new presentation. The best way to, or the simplest way to do that is to go to slides.google.com, and you'll get this menu here, and you can start a blank presentation. You can start one from a template. You can choose from the template gallery here, or if you have presentations and you want to work with those, you'll see them down below. Make sure that you are logged into your email account in order to see all these different options. I'm going to start with a blank presentation, so I'll click this checkbox. Automatically opens up with the very first slide. It has chosen a title slide for me. I can choose to delete this. I can add my text here. And over here on the right, you'll see all of the themes that are kind of auto themes that I can choose from. So this is the list of themes. And if I click on it, you'll see the title slide changes to fit in with that theme. I can choose to change the background or the layout of this slide. And if I click on this layout, you'll see these are the different layouts that are included within this theme. If I change the theme and I go back to layout, some of them have changed, but they're basically all, they're kind of default layouts for each theme. Most of them include some kind of text box or a place to put an image. Now, if you notice, none of these themes really match my presentation. Has this water background, has all these images. So what I did was I created my presentation from scratch. So I could really use all of what Google Slides has to offer. So I'm going to go ahead and do that here. I'm going to, let's delete this box. So I highlighted the box by clicking on it. Just on that line, you'll see the outline of the box, the text box here, and then I'm just going to hit delete on my keyboard. I can do that through each part. I can highlight everything by just dragging over all the pieces on the slide. I can also go over here to the left, and if I right-click on that, you'll see there's a delete option here. So I can delete the slide and start fresh. Now to add a new slide, we have the plus button here, the plus icon here. There's also a drop down next to it, so I can choose the type of slide I would like. I can choose a blank slide. And so that's what I'm going to start with, a blank slide. And I want to change the background. So instead of this plain gray background, I'm going to choose background. And I'm going to choose an image. If you choose a color, it will just change the background color. So I'm going to choose an image. And I'm going to upload an image from my computer. So I will choose the upload option, and there's lots of different options. If you have a bunch of images stored in your Google Drive, you can choose Google Drive. I'm going to upload it from my computer. So I click Browse, and this is the page I want. Or the folder I want. I'm going to choose my pool background and click Open. It will load it into the presentation and click Done. So now here's my background. So what else do we want to do? We want to add some images in. I want to create some text boxes. So the way you're going to insert anything is just to go to the Insert menu and choose Image, Text Box. We have audio and video. We'll get to those. A different shape, or even charts, diagrams, your lines. So I'm going to choose text box to start, and I'm going to title this. So I've got doggy was my very first word. So I'm going to put that in there. And then I had another text that said party. So if I just switch back over here, you see I have doggy and party. So I'm going to add those in. Instead of going to insert, if you see, I have some quick buttons here. So I'll just click text box, and then I'll draw my text box in. So I click on the page, hold it down, and draw out that text box. It's automatically going to give me a sample size. I'll stick in my word party, and so far, so good. So now I just need to adjust how this looks. So if I click on that, it will highlight that box. I can go ahead, just like Google Docs, just like Google Forms, I can adjust the font, and I can adjust the size of the font, and I can choose to bold it, italics, all that, the color, everything. So let's choose this lobster one here. That looks good. And I want to make it a little bit bigger. So I'm going to just click up, or I could type in, if I click within this number here, it'll give me a bunch of options, or I could type in the size that I would like it to be. A little bit bigger. And I'm going to change the color. And so far that looks good. Let's center align this so it gets a little bit easier later when I want to align it on the page. So I'm just adjusting the box around it. There's no need to do it, but if I move this around on the page, if you see right about there, that center line appears, it means that it is centered on the page. If I drag it down, you'll see that it is then centered vertically on the page. Another way to do this is to go to the Arrange menu and hover over Center on Page. Now I can center it horizontally. And if I do that one more time and go to vertically, I can center it vertically. So if that's an option, if that's something you want to do, start with, that's a kind of quick way of arranging all the items on your page. So far I've got a text box. I've just been working with text boxes, moving them around, arranging them. So let's go ahead and do this text box as well. If I refer back to my presentation here, it was big and bold. It was all capital. So I'm going to just change that to match. And then I want to change my font and find a good one. That's okay. I like this one here. And I'm going to change the color again by going to this text color here. If you hover over any of these, it will show you exactly what it's for. I'm going to choose white, and I want to choose a nice big font. Let's do that. And I think this was centered perfectly on the page. So let's go ahead and do that. I centered it within its box, and now I'm going to arrange it on the page and center it horizontally. Now, if I go back, if you notice, all of these other pieces are just images that I placed on the page. So I'm going to go ahead and place these images. So I will click Insert, choose Image, Upload from Computer. And here are all my images. So I'm going to go ahead and place all of these. So I can do the P, it is, and I'll do that again for one of the O's. And if I hold down the control button as I click, I can go ahead and choose many, click open, and they all appear on the page. Now I can just start working with all of these images. If I refer back to that first slide, I have my palm leaves up here in the corner, and they're much smaller than they were when I just loaded them. And then I've got a second set down here on the right, which is a little bit bigger. So I'm going to arrange these now. So here's my palm image. And if I just drag it around, you see it moves everything with it. I'm going to click out of there. So now I'm just highlighting the palm leaves. I want to make these fit nicely in this corner down here. So I'm going to drag them to the corner. And I think they were a little bit smaller. If you notice, they kind of tucked down in the corner. So if I highlight or bring my cursor to the corner and I click on it and drag, I will make that a little bit smaller and make it fit nice and snug in the corner over there. I think that looks nice. And I need to make a second one to go up here in the top left-hand corner. So if I highlight it, and you notice that it is because that box there, and then you click Control C to copy, and then Control V to paste. It pasted another one directly on top. I'm going to drag that up to the top. If you ever get to a point where on the screen you're like, oh, I can't see the whole thing, use your rollerball on your mouse to roll up or down, or you can use the scroll bars over here on the side and on the bottom. And I'm going to bring that way up to the top. And I also remember this one was much smaller. So I'm going to make that a lot smaller to begin with and just press it over there, send it over there to the corner. So far it's looking okay. And now I've just got a bunch of images here that are basically taking full on space. So let's just make these a little bit smaller. I highlight on it, hover over that corner and just drag it down to make it a little bit smaller. And I'm going to move that one out of the way. I'll do the same thing with the O. Make it a little smaller. Arrange this one. This L. Drag it up there. So I'm just arranging everything. Right now I'm just doing it quickly. You can see all the options, but basically these are just images and I'm just playing around with the size of them to see what I like, if it looks good. This one, this palm leaf is now taking up a little too much space, so I'm going to make that a little bit smaller. And I've got my ball over here that I need to get to, and I can't get to it because it is being covered by these leaves. So if I click on the leaves, and again, I know that the leaves are highlighted, it has the bounding box around it, and if I click on it, you'll see it moves. I could just move the leaves out of the way and then go grab the ball and drag it to the side, but I just wanted to show you, if you have something that's blocking something else, you go to the range menu up here, and then you choose the order option. You have now an order, you can basically layer the items that are on your page. So I can take this item and send it to the back, so that it reveals the item that's behind it. So now if I click on this, you see that bounding box changes. It's now just on the ball. So I'm going to grab that, and I just click on it, hold down the mouse button, and I drag it over to the side. My leaves are still there. I'm just going to drag them down a little bit so they're a little less obtrusive. And I'm going to do the same thing with the ball, highlight it, and make it a little bit smaller. Let's see this much. So basically, this was a bunch of pictures, or a bunch of images that I threw up onto the page and then just started to play around the size of them. And we created this nice title page. I just jumped back to my sample presentation. Pretty similar. I changed I think that's okay though. And a big thing that stands out to me is I noticed that all of these have shadow, all does too, whereas these don't. So I need to add some shadow. So this is where you start to kind of play around with your presentation and the design of it. What I can do is choose format option. So I have highlighted the P, choose the format option. And this is where you can play around the size and rotation, the position of it. You can recolor it. You can make all kinds of adjustments on it, or create a reflection. This is kind of fun. It reflects down below. And then you have options of the size and distance, transparency. So you can do that for pretty much all these things. But I'm going to turn that one off. And what I want to do is create a drop shadow. And if you see, when I clicked that, that little drop shadow appeared underneath the P. And because it's in a pool, it doesn't really show up as black. So let's just change the color. And I'm going to create a custom color. Make it a little bit more kind of greenish blue and dark so that it's actually a shadow. And now I just want to play around with the distance and the transparency and the blur radius. So you'll see that shadow start to change as I play around with these. So once you are happy with one of them, you can go ahead and apply that to each one. So I would do the same thing. To drop shadow, I would change the color. Since I already chose a color, a custom color, there it is there. I'm going to change this distance and the angle, transparency, and try to get it to match. And you can do that with each one of your images if that's what you're doing with this. So it's kind of a nice, fun way to add a little bit of design element to your presentation. So I would do that for the ball as well. So this is where design kind of gets to play with it a little bit. So I would go through each one of those and set that. So the next thing I need to do is create a new slide. So we can go back to these and play with transitions and animations in a minute. But I want to get through my other slides. So the next slide I want to create is the information slide that I have at the back, at the end. So this is really simple. It has two very simple text boxes. I have some shapes behind so you can really see it. And then I've added a couple of lines. And if you notice, I have images from that first slide. So I jump over to our working presentation. I'm going to add a new slide. So since I have a bunch of my assets on this page already, a bunch of these images are already here, I want to just copy this slide so that I don't have to make it again from scratch. So I've highlighted that slide. You can right click and click duplicate. You can go to slide and click duplicate slide. So there's a couple of different ways to do that. And then it just basically copied that entire slide over. So this is a much faster way of creating a new slide if you're going to be using a lot of the same elements. Like my background image, I don't have to reload it into the new slide. Now I don't need any of these things. So I'm going to click on that doggy, the text box. And if I hold down the Shift key on my keyboard and start clicking other elements, it will highlight all of these elements. And now I'm going to hit the delete button and they're all gone. So I'm going to keep that ball because I know that's part of it. And if I look at my sample presentation, the palm leaves are up in the top right-hand corner. So I'm just going to drag these up to that top right-hand corner. And that looks nice. And I don't need this one, so I'll highlight that one or click on it and then hit delete. And I think that presentation, that initial one, it just had a nice cross in the middle. So what I want to do is add some lines. So here's my line editor here. I can click on that, or I could do the insert and choose line and choose the type of line that I want to insert. So I just did a basic one. So I'll draw a nice line. Now, as I'm drawing that line, what I did was I clicked and held the mouse, click and hold, and then I dragged that line. But you're not sure if it's going to be straight or not. If you hold the Shift key down as you do it, it will automatically create a nice straight line for you. And then I'll just release the mouse when I feel like it has the right length. Now here, I want to change my color. I'm going to go white, and you can change the line weight let's go to pretty good. Now I could just copy this and then paste a new one in and then change the angle of it. But just to go through it again, just so you see, I'm going to use the quick choice there. I hold my mouse down, I hold the button down, and I'm going to drag to the right. And again, it's going on a bit of an angle. I'm going to hold the shift key and it will create a straight line for me. And it's creating the same, it's remembering the same elements that I had before, the line width or the line weight and the color. Now I want to center these things. So here's my line. I'm going to go to range, center on page, and I'll center vertically. I'll choose my original line, arrange, center on page, center horizontally. That looks pretty good. Now I need to add a couple of text boxes. So I click on text box, drag it down. There's my text box. I need to add my text. So just for argument, just for typing, I'm going to go into my original presentation. Maybe this is a Google Doc that you have with all of your information. Go in, I highlight what I want to copy, and then I Control C to copy it. Go back to my presentation. I'm going to paste it in there. I'll need that extra line. And I'll bring it down, make it fit nicely. And to copy this, because I want it to basically be the same over here, I'm going to highlight it, Control C to copy, Control V to paste, and drag it down into the bottom right. And then I just need to change this text. So I'll go back, highlight all that text, Control C to copy. I could also right click and choose copy. I'll go back to my presentation. I'll highlight all of this by Control A to highlight all of it, and then V to paste. I don't need that extra line. Looks pretty good. Now I can't really see it, so that's why I added these shapes in here, so you can really see what that text says. So I'm going to add a shape. Here's my images. These are my text boxes. Right next to it is the shape. So if you hover over it, you'll see shape options. Now there's a bunch of shapes that are underneath the top option. Then we have a bunch of arrows, word bubbles basically, and then different types of equations. So I'm going to choose a nice simple square, and I will drag that across. I think it looks good. And now it has blocked all of my text, so all of my work is completely gone. Actually, that's not true. What happened is it just placed that shape over my text. So I'm going to go to that Arrange menu again, Order, and I'm going to Send to the back. And now it reveals the text underneath. And let's just change the box color. So it's still highlighted. So if I go to the fill color, there's my custom color that I created before. So let's go ahead and use that for consistency. Looks good. Let's instead center this text box on the shape. So I highlight this, and then I'm going to Control Shift to highlight the box underneath. And then we can arrange. And if you see a new option appeared here, we have the align option. So basically what's happening, it's going to align these things together. So I'm going to center it, and then I'll go to align and I'll center it from top to bottom. And it moved my text and it aligned it to the box or the shape that was behind it. I can do the same thing down here, create that shape, or I can just copy it like I did before. So I will copy the shape. I highlighted it, copy it, click anywhere on the page, click paste, and I've got a new shape I can drag down to the bottom. And as I roll over the text box, you'll see those red lines appear. It's telling me you are now arranging it on top of that text box. So it will center it around that text box for me. If when I release my mouse, it releases it. It's on top right now, so I need to arrange it to the back. I'll go to Arrange, Order, Send to back. So far, it looks good. So I have one more slide that I had in my original presentation, and this is the one that had the video box in it. So I want to create this video slide. So I'll go to New Slide. I can just click the plus button. It will add a new slide. I'm going to delete that again. But that's not actually what I want to do. I want to duplicate the original slide. So I'll go ahead and right-click on the original slide, click Duplicate Slide, and it duplicated it. That way I have all of those assets again. I want to use them all. So I'll just highlight these and get rid of them. Just like I did before, I'll go back and just look at that slide. I have palm trees up here. I have the ball down there. There they are. And I didn't need this one. We had a float that we will bring in just a second. I do have a text box again with that same shape behind it. So I'm going to create a little text box. And this text box says short description. We'll just go ahead and add that in. And then I need a box as well. I need a shape on top of it, just like I did before. And I'm going to, as I highlight it, you see it is centering it all just by giving me that indication with those red lines. I'll release it, and then I'm going to send it to the back behind. If I don't really like the way it looks, what I'm going to do is just drag the text box on top. And now I need to add my video. So just like I did before with the images, I need to insert and then choose the video option. So I'll do that here. And now here we have a bunch of different options. And the best thing is that Google and YouTube, they're all the same company. So this is when it really comes in handy. If I have a YouTube video that I know already exists, I can go ahead and search for that video here. And I click search, and I can search down until I find it. And here it is. I select it, and then click select here. And it's going to insert that video here. And if I drag it down, it's giving the same options that I got with any kind of shape or text box. I can drag it until I see those lines appear. But if I know that I want this centered on the page, the easiest thing to do is highlight it, click arrange, center on page horizontally and center on page vertically. And now I just need to, I need to select these two boxes here and make sure they go together. Now, if you see, as I did that, I dragged my mouse across, and it actually selected the palm leaves as well. So if I hold down the shift key and then click on the palm leaves, it releases that. So it's not part of my selection anymore. Now I'm going to grab this text box and pull it over. And that, again, grab the box and the shape behind it. I could also group these. So if I know this is how I want it to look, I can then move all these things together. So because they're both selected, if I go to arrange and then choose group, it actually creates one item out of these two things. So this is really great when I want to just start moving these things around. I don't have to worry about, oh my God, am I grabbing both? Am I grabbing one? It actually comes as one. Oops, sorry. So I can actually move everything as one. You can go right in. If I clicked into this text, I can go ahead and still edit the text. Okay, so I think the last thing that we had on this slide was a float that hung out over onto the right. So I'm going to do insert image, upload from computer. There's my pool float. And what I find really helpful is if I know I'm going to use a lot of different assets for one presentation, I will store all those assets in one folder on my computer or in my drive so that every time I do upload from computer or upload from drive, it automatically opens that folder and I see all of those assets together. Let's make this a little bit bigger. Drag that out. I'm just going to place it there. So that pretty much looks like the slide. My float right now is in front of this video, and I don't want that to happen. So what I'm going to do is arrange that again to the back. So I can go to the arrange, I can also right click on it and you'll see order comes up and I can send to the back. That's just another shortcut. You'll find a lot of the menu items from the toolbar also exist in the right click option. So if you just right click on an item, you'll see most of those items come back up. When I copied the original slide, all of my formatting also came with it. So if you see this ball still has that drop shadow, my float doesn't because I added that during this editing process on this slide. So what I want to do is just add that drop shadow and click the same options that I had before. That looks nice. And when you're kind of happy with that, looks good. So if I wanted to arrange these slides because I didn't like the way the order of them, or if I just made them out of order, what I'm going to do is to grab one of the slides. So I click and hold down, and then I just want to drag it up within this slideshow view. I can click and drag and bring it down to the bottom. So that will change the order of my slides. Very, very simple way of doing that, especially as you're going, if you don't necessarily do everything in the same order, or if you're collaborating with other people and everybody creates theirs in a different order, you can start to kind of rearrange them right before you do the presentation. Very simple way of rearranging things. So that's pretty much it on creating slides. Very, very simple way of creating slides. What now, the fun part happens now. How do you create transitions from slide to slide, or how do you create those animations within a slide? So when you click on any one of the assets, you'll see the new options come up here. So you'll see your format options, just like we found before for the drop shadow. Animate also appears here. So if I click on one and click animate, all of those items come up on the right. I can choose how I want to animate them. I can fade in, they can just appear, they can fly in or from the right or the left. They can zoom in, and then you can choose how it happens. Is it on the click? Is it after the previous animation happened? Or it's with that previous animation, so everything happens together? It's a really fun way to add interest to your presentation. And you can choose the speed that these things happen. And then you can just add more for each individual one, or if you're just going to add a new animation, go ahead and, for a new item, go ahead and click that item, click animate, and then you choose that animation. If you see, now they're starting to line up. So if I had this original one, this P, and I had it fade in on a click, and then I chose this O here, the watermelon O, and I want it to fade in. Rather than click, I'm going to say after the previous one. So whatever happened previously, once that's done, this one's going to start. And now I add this O, add that animation. I'm going to fade in after the previous. Right now, it's going to happen after this O. Well, I want it to happen after the P. So I just grab it and drag it up. Nice and easy, drop and drag, or drag and drop, I should say. And so those are all my animations. You can add that for all these different things, all these different items that are on the page. You can also choose in videos if you would like that video under my animation, if you would like the video to play on click or to play automatically when you arrive on the slide. It depends on how you're presenting something. Now, when it's time to actually present your slideshow, if you go to this button up here that says slideshow and just click that, it will start presenting that slideshow. If you go down to the left-hand corner, you'll see a new option here. This is like I can click forward and back within my slideshow. Or if you go to the more menu, which is the little kebab menu here, there's a bunch of different options here. This is where you're going to find the autoplay option. So if you want it to autoplay you choose play. If you're publishing this to the web and you want it to play every however many seconds, you want to choose those options. Or if you want it to loop, once it's done and you want it to loop through again, choose loop. When you're in the presentation mode, to get out of this, just click escape on hit escape on your keyboard. So if I go back to my sample presentation and I go to my first slide and click slideshow, and I'm going to go down here to autoplay, and I'm going to hit play, you'll see once I hit that, it's going to play through. So these are my transitions that I created, my animation, autoplay to the next slide. I had the video start automatically, and I floated in that pool float. And normally this would have to play through the entire video. I can skip that video if I need by just clicking on my slide, and then it transitions again to the last. Now, to share this with somebody, it's just like Google Docs, it's just like Google Forms. If you click share up here, you can choose who you want to share it with, and they can become a collaborator with you and work on this with you. It's great when you're creating presentations with your committee or your department, and you all want to work on your own slides separately. To change your theme at any time, you can choose that here. So if I'm up here and I want to choose a different theme, I can choose that over to the right, and it will change the theme of it, meaning the text and the images, the background. So if I go ahead and do that, you'll see the text is automatically going to work with the theme. Because mine is a built from scratch presentation, I have my own backgrounds. It doesn't really change very much when I choose a new theme.
Again, many thanks to Joseph Palmer, our Web Development and Product Coordinator, for another excellent class. Our next class in this series is Monday the 18th at 10 o'clock, and the subject is Google Calendar. I'd also like to thank our director, staffers, trustees, and friends of the library for attending. Certificates for those who attended all 8 classes will be created and sent at the end of the series. An evaluation will also be sent to all attendees after the class, along with the recording. Everyone's feedback is very important, so please take a minute to respond, as it does help us in planning future events. And if you missed any of the classes, we'll let you know how to access the videos and the handouts once we've finished all of the classes. Joseph is working on a way to put everything together in one central location, so it'll be easy to access for reference.